Hello, everybody. Wendy's there. Hello, Leah.
Thank God.
Thank God. Come on, baby.
I'm here.
Hello.
Hello,
Leah. Show me your
Hi.
face.
Hi, Leah.
Leah. Okay. Last year? Yeah. Good.
Great.
Hello, last year.
Lasita.
Lasita. Okay.
Good. Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
I got an energy bar to keep me going.
Good. Enjoy.
And my diet energy bars will be coming soon, I hope.
But
I started a new diet, so it comes with
Yeah.
energy bars. So we'll see.
Yeah.
but Tofi, are you fasting during the day?
Yes, but some days I don't fast because I take medics. So it depends. I
Because
fast
of
when I
what?
can because you hear me?
Yes, because I missed a word. Because of Semitics, or what were
Yeah,
you saying?
actually I'm fasting, but with the medics, there was some days I can't fast.
Oh,
yeah.
because of the medication.
Right.
Yes, yes.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hi, Leah. How are
Hi,
you?
Leah. Nice, sweetie.
Always good to see you.
Leah, unmute yourself. I will do it, okay?
I'm waiting for Shirley and Vicky, and then we can start.
Okay. Leah.
Thank God she's here.
Leah.
I don't hear her.
Can you hear me now?
Oh,
Yay. How's everything, honey? How is everything?
Everything's pretty cool. Pretty cool. How are
hello.
they
We
for
miss you,
you?
Leah. We miss you.
Huh?
We miss you.
I miss you. It seems like there was a time when we were like seeing each other all the time,
Right,
and
now
then
we don't. So
Yeah.
and now we don't.
now we have to cherish our Mondays.
Yeah, I know, which is weird. And you know, daily challenge. I still miss. I still miss like going and seeing Lynn's articles and Lasita's picture for the day.
Hello,
and-
Vicky. Soul sister.
Hi, Vicky. Hi. I really
Okay.
miss it, you know, and it's ridiculous. It's been such a long time, but I do miss it.
Yeah.
But I
because
guess should I start, because it's quite a big topic,
yeah.
and I perhaps should start really.
Okay, so we're gonna
I'm
now
going
that
to
we
be
have
reading from my notes.
okay, now that
because-
we have everybody that's important and everybody that's going to be here. I didn't hear from anyone really.
No, it's only
I
1
understand that, but it's fine.
Hello,
Hi, Vicky.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm important.
I speak to Vicky all the time.
Definitely.
Vicky more than I speak to Tofi, so you can just
Yeah.
Everybody here is glorious
all
and
the
wonderful.
time with Vicky.
And Vicky's coming. Yay, Vicky will be here
Yay,
with
come on
me.
to eat
Rah,
Moroccan
rah, rah.
dishes.
She's on a diet too, like me, so she's
Oh, really?
yeah. So I don't know. if she'll-
Constant. Constant diet.
Yeah,
Oh, great.
If I don't, then I go up.
lifelong.
It is.
Forever. Okay, so today, our dear Leah is going to be discussing a topic that I personally know nothing about, and I'm always interested in learning about new things. Vicky knows more than I do,
Yeah.
so right now, Leah, just go for it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm because it's a tricky topic, and I want to read. I'm going to be reading from my notes, which I have both on another computer and here, and a quote there. So I just hope you'll put up with me with that, but I do have to
course.
do that actually.
Yeah.
Okay, it's just such a complex topic, so to keep to it. It's vital also, please don't interrupt me while I'm just doing this. Then I'll talk for about 20 minutes, 25 minutes, stop me, and then we can answer questions. I'm happy to answer questions, or you can talk about whatever you want. Oh, okay?
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. My qualifications for speaking on this topic, when I am not transgender, nor am I gender non-conforming in the great variety of ways that are known these days and have been known about for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. I have to sort of say that the reason I am talking is because I'm a trans ally. And I became a trans ally for personal reasons, but also I worked, as a mental health counselor, and I had some knowledge of, teeny bit of knowledge. I had a lot of gay knowledge about gayness because of gay clients and that sort of thing, lesbians and bisexuality. But the T in that LGBTQAI plus was sort of not something I knew much about. A, if you don't know, stands for asexual. Those are people who don't really have a feeling for of attraction to either anybody, really. I is intersex, which is, some people say, well, hey, yeah, but you're just born that way. Well, other people would say, yes, but you're also born, with the other ones as well. And there's more and more evidence of that being true, particularly in transgender issues. It's come to the fore that there's much research backing up the fact that there is a fetal, an infant in the womb, and also a formation of the brain to do with the hormones, etc. I can go into that a bit later. But the point is, intersex people, if you don't, just because not everyone knows, I mean, people are born in a huge variety of ways. Everyone wants things to be simple. We all want a simple world. Simplicity, keep it simple. But it's not a simple world. Just go out in the jungle, go out in the woods. It's not simple. And the fact is that I know a woman who has 2 vaginas. I know a woman who was born without one. I know people who have, one of Ian's cousins was born with only hands and stubs up to his hands were on his elbows. Nature does a lot of odd things or interesting things or different things. So, to say, as some people are saying in this backlash that is occurring, well, it's all very simple. You're either a girl or you're a boy. That's that. And you've got these chromosomes. It's not that simple. Some people actually do have extra chromosomes. It does get more complex, and you can look that up if you wish to, but there is a lot of complexity actually involved. So we do have nature being and creation itself is just a very complex thing, and it includes gender. And gender, for anyone who doesn't know, is not the same thing as sexuality. So those are 2 very different things. There's gender and then there's sexuality. So someone might be
exactly the difference, please.
He's explaining it. No, don't interrupt.
What?
The difference between the 2.
Okay. Gender is what you pick up from your culture, from around you, what it is, what your sexual characteristics that you were born with, which is your one believe you should have. So if you were born in it's whatever your culture is allowing you to believe about how you can behave and think and be. Okay. But sexuality is your attraction to somebody or non-attraction if you're asexual.
Yeah.
So sexuality is about a physical attraction. And we all know that most of the time we don't have the physical attraction. Sometimes we do, it varies. But anyway, again, that's also complex, but they are 2 different things. So someone who's transgender, say a male who has transitioned to being a female because their gender is female, may actually be attracted to women and be a lesbian actually then, or may be attracted to men and just be what they would consider to, she would consider to be a normal quote, female, because she's attracted to men like society says you should be, or maybe to various genders.
No,
So they're
no.
pangender. Does
Hello,
that make sense?
Shirley. What there?
1 minute. Shirley is calling.
Yes, I hear you. We are already there. Can you come, little lady?
Okay, let's not talk.
Wait. Okay. Oh, okay, you will come. Okay. Okay, thank you. Bye.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Leah. I'm sorry. That was
I'm sorry
Shirley.
because I want to be sure that Shirley is there. She will
I
come.
don't care if she doesn't.
Go ahead. I'm
Go ahead.
sorry.
Is that clear? Gender, sexuality,
Yeah.
two different
Okay.
things.
Yeah, thank
Got
you.
it.
And,
Got it.
and okay, and that would become more clear if I manage to get through some of this. So I am not a person who can speak from experience. So I'm not here to speak for any trans person's experience. I'm here as a trans ally, and I became a trans ally above workplace information that I had been given, which was very little at the time. It's actually, I mean, people spoke hardly ever about it. It was, you spoke, about LGB stuff, but you didn't speak about all the different things that we speak about today. That at least when I was working and learning and training and so forth back in the day. Okay, so I just want to make it clear, I'm not speaking for them. I actually have a lot of their quotes. I am not here. I'm not free to tell their story. It's theirs, not mine. But I was also brought to it because somebody who's very dear to me brought transgenderism to my attention about 4 years ago. Before that, I knew next to nothing. Not like you, Lynn. I just,
Exactly. I know
No.
nothing.
I didn't know. Well, because as a trans ally, I belong to many different groups in real life, when we used to have one, or online, which is, but I have a lot of transgender acquaintances and friends, and people very close to me, and people less close to me, but still whom I know an awful lot about, and they know about, I'm kind of close in a certain way. It's hard not to be when you're talking about such personal subjects. But basically, anyway, people who are transgender are just people who want to talk and shop and go to, they don't necessarily want to be talking about transgenderism all the time, it's like you don't want to talk about, I want to talk about heterosexuality all the time. Ask me questions. Why are you heterosexual? When did you first discover that you were heterosexual? I mean, the questions that people feel that they're entitled to ask a person who's transgender, you'd never go to someone who, you think who is, let's say they actually are straight, if you want to call it, I don't like that word straight, but anyway, you would never go to someone who sees themselves as they were born with female characteristics and they can feel quite happy with the female role that they've been given. So there are no big deals there. But they, you just wouldn't go to them and start asking them about their genitalia. You wouldn't ask them about the things that I know transgender people get asked by strangers, family, friend, and it's okay if someone's close to you and you feel that you've asked them, is it okay if I ask you these questions? I'm really curious, because most transgender people are okay about people being curious, but not furious and not nasty about it, which is what actually often happens. And I know that people will ask questions that you would just not dream of asking the average individual. You just wouldn't, how old were you when blah, 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 blah. No, no, you don't ask that. It's not polite. I'm sorry. Okay, so I am here talking because I have become quite upset lately because there is much evidence indicating a backlash is in the process of occurring. And it's actually not just in one place, it's kind of global. So this is one reason why I wish to try to get through some of this material. If I mention any anecdote, either now or an answer to any question, I will change details to protect someone's privacy,
Of course.
but I won't change. It's the unvarnished truth, you know. The truth is true. Some details may not be exact because I think people, it's their story, it's not mine.
Right.
Okay, so I just want to make that clear. Let's see now. I have such terrible handwriting. So yes, I have a very dear friend who brought, after 18 years of trying, of being a very handsome guy, I thought, I didn't, I mean, not just 18 years of being a handsome guy, sorry. When she was a he, trying to be one, she married somebody who I also know and got to know actually very well. And so I was kind of friends with both of them. Very, very dear friends to me. And they tried for 18 years to have a baby unsuccessfully.
Oh, boy.
And that was something that I'm not so close to the, do you know the term CIS, cisgender?
No.
Yeah. If you, okay, that just means that you were born with the like female characteristics, sexual
Okay,
characteristics,
yeah.
and you identify with the female role as it's been given to you, and the same with the male. Okay, so she was a cisgender female and straight basically, and but they always seem like, to me, like girlfriend, and I mean they seemed like brother and sister. That's just how they seemed. I can't explain it. And Ian knew them somewhat, not as close as I did, but he always thought, yeah, you know, they're just a strange couple because they're like brother and sister. I don't know. That's just how it seemed. But you know, as a counseling type of person, you know, you tend to get into these conversations with lots of people. And I came to know through the years that this woman who was trying very hard to be a man, trying so desperately hard, and had been ever since childhood, to be a boy, to make people proud of him. He was a high achiever. He hated so much of the boy stuff, but he had to pretend to. He hated the clothes. He hated everything about it. Now that it's not good for your psychology when that's the case, when you're so scared to tell anybody anything, because if you said anything, you're afraid that everyone will reject you. And you know what? There's a good chance they might, because that happens to lots and lots of transgender kids who end up homeless, and also adults who end up without their family. People just say, don't want to know you anymore. Yeah. You lose your family, you lose your friends. So she kept it to herself, but little hints of certain things came through. I made it clear that I wasn't, she said she didn't think she made a good man or boy or guy or whatever. She said she didn't think she made a good one. She didn't think that she made a good, I'm going to say he for now, because that's what at that time, I thought that I thought he was a handsome, high achieving guy who had depression, anxiety problems, with some paranoia stuck in there, always thinking people might be looking at him strangely, thinking he was a freak, that he never fit in, that he was a misfit, secretly kind of thinking these things. Because you know what he was? It's no wonder he felt that way. He thought people were looking at him and seeing. They can see that I'm actually not a good guy. I'm not a real guy. You know, he was so scared. He was so afraid that he would be rejected by. He came from a family of divorce, and he was so afraid that he would be rejected by his particularly his other family. And so kept it to himself. But the depression, married, as I said, tried unsuccessfully to have children for 18 years. And I'm still friends with her. And she says to this day, every day, she feels sorrow that she'll never have a baby. It's just sad. But I said, you know, you might, you just leave it open. You don't know for sure what might happen. Not you personally, but something might happen in your life. You don't know. And I also believe that people who want a child and can't have it, and maybe it's easy for me to say, I don't know, but you can see, I see all the children around me. It takes a village. I like to think of myself as being involved in all the children. And if I could try to help her to see that she actually has lots of children to care for, to show, be an example for, a role model for, and so forth. But anyway, so that's how I came to the subject. And once that happened, realizing I was totally ignorant, I went on being an Asperger syndrome, high functioning Asperger syndrome woman. I'm a total nerd. And so I went on a 2-year complete obsession with the subject, reading medical articles, YouTube, people just talking about what, everything, you name it. I read it. I attended lectures online at universities around the world, even China, where it was translated, where they were talking about the biological basis of transgenderism. It was new and exciting research. And I just totally devoted myself for 2 years, basically put lots of my other interests on hold so I could learn everything I could. Biographies, I read autobiographies, I read the histories, transgender history in UK, Britain, the world, cross-culturally. It was just, I lived it. And consequently, I know a little more than I did then, before. But I admit I'm a very, very nerdy person. Okay. However, it was fascinating and still is fascinating to me. And I still have so much to learn. And I still get involved in so many interesting discussions with various people in the trans groups that I go to. TED Talks, they're a good source if you're interested. But for easy kind of things. I don't think if I mentioned that the intersex person is somebody who's born with the sexual characteristics of both a girl and a boy. As an infant, they actually have those characteristics. Previously, surgeons, without even telling the parents, or in tandem with the parents, would decide, will we raise this child as a girl or a boy? Because they had the choice. And then they would perform the surgery necessary to make it so that that child would never know that they were intersex, maybe, And now, there's been more of a revolution, I say, amongst the intersex people who wish to say, hey, we wish we had had a choice, because some of these intersex people feel they made the wrong choice. They made them into a boy when they have a girl's head. They made them into a girl when they have a boy's head. So that's what an intersex person is. Okay. if you didn't know. I'm sure some of you do know, but okay, so onward and upward. I'm just going to read you now. A friend of mine wrote this, and it's very short. It's not, I mean, it's quite short, and I think it's interesting because they're trying to educate. They're putting themselves on the line because Twitter and all the social media are doxing, and well, I mean, they are doing nasty things to people who come out as transgender, and they find out who they are, where they are. It's unbelievable the horribleness that exists on Twitter and Telegram and some other things in an transphobic way. Okay. Anyway, this is transgender in a nutshell. Ever questioned whether you are a male or female, or wished you were the opposite sex? Probably not. Most people go through life without giving their gender a moment's thought. They see themselves as male or female, an identity that's formed in early childhood, and they cannot conceive of being anything else. So the idea that someone might think differently and want to change gender can seem strange. And yet that is what transgender folks do. And this can and does lead to a lot of misunderstanding. The following aims to give some basics on what being transgender is about and is not about, which in turn will hopefully help those who have to work with and support someone who is transgender as they undertake a hugely scary, challenging, emotionally and physically painful journey. And they're speaking of the transgender person there. By the way, this friend that I know, it's called genderaware.org, if you're interested.
Gender where?
Gender aware.
Genderaware.org. Okay. He's very brave. Right. See, I misgendered, and that's one of the real bad. Don't do that. That's like, oh my God, ah. Okay.
Okay.
She is very brave to come out and do this. I'm probably so afraid I'm going to do that I do.
You're going to be fine. Just do it. Go
You are
ahead.
doing great. Go.
Okay. Gender. Nature has evolved brains so that there are fundamental differences between male and female brains to enable them to support the roles they take in nature, a variance that is reflected throughout nature. Now, that doesn't mean that it's something that is ingrained in stone. They're not saying that that girls can't do maths and boys can't. It's not so simple as that. Because for one thing, that's a myth. Girls can be just as good and better at maths than boys, and vice versa. Okay, gender is the manifestation of this variance. How you think, feel, see yourself as, respond to, and behave in the world around you, and how the world therefore perceives and responds to you. You can see yourself, think, behave, and be perceived as what we call a female, or as what we call a male, or as somewhere in between. Gender is not the same as, nor fundamentally related to your sex, to what reproductive organs you have, or your sexuality, who floats your boat. Gender is about your brain and how this is structured and wired. Gender, as with sex, is not actually binary. That is, only male, only female. It actually exists across a spectrum. Some people find they fit somewhere in between or fluctuate between male and female. Our society has chosen to divide people into binary male or female gender groups at the moment, but a number of cultures throughout time and in the present recognize more than one gender. For example, the Native Americans had up to 5 genders in some groups, okay? A growing number of binary-based cultures are now moving to a 3-gender system. So it's still kind of evolving. I don't know if you've ever heard of the anthropologist Margaret Mead. She was a bit disgraced because she said a few fibs about the sexual habits of people in New Guinea. But aside from that, she was a good anthropologist. And she said, and I always love this quote, humans are infinitely malleable. It's interesting. Okay. Transgenderism is when is when your brain is structured and wired to think, feel, respond, and behave in a way that is different to the gender normally associated with your sex. Those who are transgender often have a self-image that is opposite to their assumed gender and physical sex. Transgenderism is normal and quite common. It's estimated about 1 in 100 are fully transgender, which is roughly the same number of people who have red hair. Okay. And that up to 1 in 25 people, us, have some degree of gender identity issue. So maybe not so far away from us as we might think, some of us. Historical records of transgenderism go back over 5,000 years, and there was even a transgender Roman emperor. It is nothing new. 1 in 4 transgender people are females to males, which is FTM, if you see that currently, though this figure is rising rapidly and also going, is kind of, this is all, you know, it's a changing world, okay? It is not solely the domain of males to females, which is which gets the most hassle actually, because it's easier to look like, it's called passing, to pass as a male, a female to male, because either you were flat chested to begin with, or you wear these things they call binding, and they, oh, it's very painful apparently, and they bind their breasts down so you can't see them, or you get them taken off, or and then some people have a penis made for them and other people don't. So it's not whether or not you end up with the surgery or characteristics of, you know, that's not what makes somebody transgender. It's not your it's not your genitalia. You know, people, trans people's always saying, stop talking about the genitals for God's sake. They're so obsessed. You know, it's the brain. Okay. Anyway, you are created and born transgender. It's just something that occurs to you. It is not something that develops over time because of the way your mom treated you or something. It is not learned, and you cannot make somebody transgender. It is not something you can choose or pretend to be. It is not a fad, and it is never a phase. It is not a mental illness. It used to be called a mental illness, just like being gay used to be called a mental illness, but it's not a mental illness, not in our society. But it wasn't so long ago that it was, and it still requires a psychiatrist to okay you before you can be called transgender in our society and get help. Okay. So it's kind of still, up to a lot of trans people, it seems they complain that they're still treated like they have a mental illness, that they're, because they are transgender. It is not a mental illness, neither is it a physical disability. It is a fundamental and completely natural biological condition, and as such, it cannot be cured. So to put somebody through some kind of conversion therapy, hoping to make a change, is a travesty to that person, a trauma. We actually have an excellent understanding scientifically, medically, and biologically of the mechanisms that lead to people being transgender and how these manifest themselves in brain structures and the ways individuals think from the earliest ages I have some articles here from different universities in Australia, China, the United States, not the United States, but the UK, Sweden. They actually show the research that's been done, and it's building up instead of being knocked down. Although you will find that there's a lot of misinformation about that, and there are people, some of them, they're called TERFs. They're usually
what?
my age group, radical feminists,
Some of them what?
who do not like this idea of a transgender person. And I remember it's not, and they were there a long time ago, because when I was training to be a rape crisis counselor when I was 30, which is a while ago.
A while ago.
I thought it was yesterday.
No exact number.
Okay, go ahead. We're interrupting.
I
Wait,
recall
I'm not.
there was this meeting, because it was an all women crisis group. This is all women, and most of them were radical feminist lesbians, in fact.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like with Ian, and I don't think that went down well. But anyway, I've never fit into anything, so I don't. So there was a transgender woman, and she wanted to become a member. She wanted to become she wanted to train, and so they had there were about 30 women in the group, and they had a vote. Should we allow this transgender woman in? And I was about the only person who said yes.
Oh, God.
Oh,
So that's 30 years. That's over 30
ago.
years ago. Okay. And so it's been around for a long time, but they're called TERFs. It stands for something, and right this second I can't think what. But anyway, it's basically get off our turf. You're a male, you've got all the male privileges, and now you want to come in and get on our turf. And but it's not spelled that way, it's TERF. You want to get on our turf and take over our privileges, and you don't belong here, and you don't belong in our toilets. So get the hell out of our toilets. And so they were behind that whole movement, which has been absolute hell for transgender people. Okay. I was talking about the mechanisms that lead to people being transgender and how these manifest in brain structures and the way individuals think from the earliest ages. A primary mechanism is known to be a lack of or excessive hormonal levels of a certain kind, which are controlled by various genes at critical stages of fetal development, and especially at key stages of brain development. And just to add to that a bit, like in the most recent 2021 study from Australian University, they actually have shown pictures. They can see that there are slight differences in the brain, and the part of the brain that absorbs gender information is slightly different and fits like a woman who wants to be, the terms, okay, forgive me, but the born with female characteristics woman person,
Yes.
Okay, trans exclude. Thank you, Lasita. I knew it stood for something.
Yes.
I've met him and argued. I've been hit by it, but yeah. So they I was interested in that. So now I forgot what I was saying. What was I saying? Oh yeah, this article. So you can actually see a difference in the MRI scan in the organ structure. It fits in more with other women to the trans male, the trans woman, has the organ of the brain fits in more with what a born with sexual characteristics of female, gender female, happy person. And the same goes with the female to male. They have that alteration in the brain, and it actually is more of the same structure of that, of a born male, likes being male role, gender person. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So it's quite interesting, and the research is absolutely fascinating. And I can give you references at some point if anyone wants them, you know, but I won't, I can't do it right now, obviously. Transgender folks have the same range of sexual orientations as non-trans people. Adding the T to LGB is actually confusing, as being trans has little to do with sexuality. That is only because transgender folks face many of the same discrimination and social issues that LGBT folks do, and so they join together to work against these. However, recently I have a friend in Massachusetts, and she's a lesbian, and she said that their local, she said it's a very friendly LGBTQAI plus group, but city, you know, in fact, but the LGBT, you know, they were going to have a pride parade, and they didn't want the trans people to be in it. And that has actually happened in numerous places around different countries. They don't want trans people in it. There are gay people who are actually now discriminating against transgender people
Mhm.
and saying you don't belong with us. And so actually what happened in her case in Massachusetts is they said, that's okay, we'd like to have our own parade. And so
Mhm.
now they have their own parade. But that's the kind of tension that exists that was never there before. There was something more of a togetherness type of thing, and something is happening there, you know. I think people should be aware of it. Being expected to be one thing and actually being something different causes a huge range of problems, including mental conflict and anguish. Resulting mental health issues and substance abuse are commonplace, while the attempted suicide rate among transgender people at well over 40% is the highest for any single group of people in society,
Wow.
and over 10 times the national average. Being transgender is not fun. Just as it is not possible to make someone transgender, you cannot unmake them transgender. It is not possible to change the fundamental structures and working of the brain, and it makes no sense to try to do so. For those who are severely, or, you know, I don't like the word severely personally, but for those who are, you know, seriously going the whole way with their transgender, coming out and so forth, because many people never come out, ever. No one ever knows. The easiest and best course of medical action is to provide psychological assessment and support, subsequent medication, possibly if they want it, hormones or puberty blockers, but not everyone does want it. And ultimately, the desired surgery so that the physical body is as close as possible to the form of the desired gender. However, not everybody wants the surgery, nor do they get it. That does not change their gender. It does not change the fact that they are still transgender. However, often they do take estrogen, the males to females, because it actually, the way I heard it from my friend was, for the first time in her life, she felt relaxed. She felt happy. And for those people who might think that like men get some kind of erotic pleasure dressing up as a woman, actually, my dear friend told me that as a young boy, he she would dress in some secret stash of female clothes. And no, it was nothing sexual about it. It was just they were depressed and anxious and didn't feel like they fit in at school. And it was the only time that they felt relaxed. They felt themselves. They felt happy. It's just about feeling okay.
Yeah.
It's not an erotica thing. Now
Yeah.
it's drag queens and all this other stuff. These don't, you can't confuse everything. Sometimes things overlap. I'm not going to say that some transgender person isn't a drag queen, but it's not the same thing, and it's not necessarily at all related. Okay, I mean, I can't speak for every single person in the world, obviously. So yeah, when people are going through you do have to do so. If you do decide to come out totally, and some people don't, they dress as like a male at work. Everyone thinks they're a male, but when they have their free time, they dress and become a different. They have a different name. They hang out with people who accept them as women, and they feel like women because that's what they actually feel like. They feel like women, and it hurts them to have to dress as a male and to act like a male. But it's the only way they feel that they can do it without losing perhaps their whole family or their job, or as many people do who do come out. It's as it says, it's not fun. It's a hard thing to do. Many people wait till very late, like in Aberystwyth. I can say this because he wrote a book about himself. The fire chief of Aberystwyth for 30 years, who won many awards for his as everyone thought, bravery, and most respectable man, married with 2 children. And when he retired and he got awards and so forth, immediately he came out as a she, and lost a lot of friends. At first lost the family, but the daughters came around, and the previous wife has not come around. She still won't speak to him, but the daughters love her and are behind her all the way. So in public they call her by the name, just a name. In private they call her dad because that's what they're used to. People make concessions sometimes because it's not easy to call somebody something for 30 years or whatever and then suddenly not do so. And usually there's some understanding that people are making an effort, but some people deliberately misgender people. That's what they don't like, when they misgender the pronouns on purpose. My friend, I can speak from knowing, and other friends I've known have gone up to say get a hamburger or a veggie burger or whatever, and they say, "Here you go, sir." And I say, "Excuse me, what did you call me?" I said, "Sir." I said, "No, it's she, madam." "No, it's sir." Okay, they're making a deal about it. So that's something which is extreme. But if you're, an older person that you've been known somebody for 1,000 years and you call them he, if you occasionally make a mistake, they usually, they understand, especially if you say you're sorry. Because it is something that really does hurt the heart to be, well, just like if you're a woman, you don't feel like being called he. And if you're a guy, you don't want to be called she, I should think. So that's when they're transitioning, they're trying to live their lives as naturally and normally as possible, but they are, like, for the first time, maybe coming out wearing female clothing, which, if you think about it, could be jeans and a t-shirt and tennis shoes, because not every female, you know, I was buying a present for my friend, and I went to the charity shop and I said, I'm buying a shirt for my transgender friend. Do you have anything kind of, I don't know, any cool thing? And they said, oh, well, transgender, they're going to want something glittery and bright. And I said, no. Actually, this person, my transgender friend, wears very plain clothes, doesn't wear makeup. Okay, you know, neither do lots of women who are born women and get on with being a woman. So, you know, there's all these stereotypes, like because you're transgender, male to female, you're going to want to go around in a glittery way like me. but it's not the case. It may be a t-shirt and jeans. Yeah, why not? Okay. Many transgender folks do transition and live successfully after having surgery. There's very, very few, and very rarely does anyone say, oh, I wish I hadn't done that. They usually say, wow, for the first time in my life, I feel like I am who I am. I'm accepted, I'm myself. So that kind of myth that is a misinformation that people, the media will find someone who is sad that they did it, and then they'll focus on that, forgetting that there are hundreds and hundreds who actually are very happy that they did do surgery. But not everyone wants it, nor should they have it. I mean, it's just a choice. Sexuality does not change with transitioning, though they may have a suppressed sexuality, which may come out. It's possible, since they're changing and doing so many things. Also, it's interesting that there's been this, like J.K. Rowling of Harry Potter fame has been promoting over in the UK the myth that transgender male to females should not be allowed in women's toilets because they're violent, domestic violent creatures who beat women up. And interestingly, the only cases I've come across of anyone being beaten up because of gender in a toilet are male to females in a woman's toilet being beaten up by females. Okay. Just plain females. So there's nothing to that. They're also being called perverted. They're being called pedophiles. It's as if at this moment in time, at least in the UK, I don't know how much that's traveled to the US. I do know that Trump tried to get rid of transgenderism, get them out of the military, get their name, you know, kind of genocide on their name from all official documents, so that there was no use of the word transgender, you know. So there is a transgenderism backlash occurring in the United States as well, but even more so here in the UK. And most 90% of the people who were interviewed said that they're afraid to leave their house every day. They're afraid. And also, the vast majority of male to females in particular, because they're easier to spot than the females to males, who can have a beard and a pot belly and you don't think twice about them. Whereas a male, if they didn't take hormones in puberty, they get the bigger hand, you know, the more stronger angular sexual characteristics, which are harder to kind of hide. Not all of them. I have known some transgender women who are, you'd never know for the life of you, ever. So, I mean, sometimes you can't, but people don't like, as the ones people I know do not want to be judged on that basis. They don't want to have
This
to
is the
pass.
point. Never
They don't
judge.
have to be oh, you're so pretty. You look just like a woman. They don't want that to be the reason why you accept them, or think it's okay. They are who they are. That's just who they are. They have a big hand. They have big shoulders. That's it. But their brain is female. They were born that way. And I believe it's a travesty for society to punish and hurt them. The violence and the murder rate against them has gone up considerably in the last year.
Terrible.
Murder and attacks, violent beatings and attacks has gone up very significantly against transgender, particularly males to females. And I saw a documentary. I didn't see. I read a documentary article about a guy. Jesus Christ! I'm sorry. I'm just getting all mixed up here. She said, I have been transgender for 30 or 40 years now. I have never in my life seen anything like this, ever.
Terrible.
So something is happening. And interestingly, it does correspond with Trumpism, far rightism, and all of that stuff,
Of course.
Evangelicals,
What's that, love?
evangelicals.
Evangelicals. Although interestingly, surely you might be, the Church of Christ. I could not believe it, but it's true. They actually say, we love transgender people and they're welcome in our church.
Hallelujah.
And
Oh yeah, out here, that's not unusual. We don't have the wave of evangelicals that
Yeah.
you have back in the South in Oklahoma, where I was kind of
Yeah.
from.
oh, I know. It's just generally speaking, I mean,
But
my
here,
family, for example, evil people going to hell, ruining life.
I was in a Starbucks a few years ago here in Long Beach, and Caitlyn Jenner came in with a friend.
Mhm.
They had been down in somewhere in South Orange County, and she just walked in. She's beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. And the cool thing, I mean, nobody was other than it was like just like seeing a celebrity. It wasn't like, oh my God, there's Bruce Jenner and he's a man. It was like, God, isn't she beautiful? And she was just so elegant and held her head up and beautiful, and asked to use the restroom. And all of our restrooms out here are for everyone. And yes, thank you, California.
Yeah.
But it was really neat. And then after she left, one of the younger gay baristas came over and talked to me. He said, this just made my day. She made my day. I could not believe she walked in here, and she's so wonderful and so beautiful. And I said, well, I know. I mean, geez.
That's nice. I'm glad to hear that.
It's a nice balance. In Long Beach, our city hall flies the LGBTQ flag, right along with the flag of California and the flag of the United States.
Why the hell do I live in California?
Because our mayor is gay. In fact,
I just said, why don't I live there?
I don't know. You should. Except don't move to the northern part where the wackos are. It's called Jefferson County. They want to separate and become the country of Jefferson. They're all radical white supremacists. But mostly it's just like it's been it just doesn't seem to be any kind of a big deal. Just we've had it. And I think Caitlyn Jenner was a huge opening for a lot of people, because here we had an Olympian, Bruce Jenner,
Right.
married, children, and then comes out as a woman and had all the surgeries and everything. And it's like, hey, whatever. I always
Yeah.
look at it as your soul, whatever
Exactly.
is your
Perfect
heart
word.
good?
Yeah.
Is
That-
your
well,
heart good?
that's
Is your
yeah.
mind healthy? I wanted to show you a picture. I was trying to pull it up. I hope you can see this. Can you see this picture I'm showing you?
No.
So
Can
kind
you
of, I
reverse it?
say the
Horizontal?
brunette.
Like this.
I'm gonna try it again.
Okay.
This
I
is
saw
an
the brunette.
artist I've worked with for years in, let me get it up here. This
Now
is a
I see it.
family.
Now
Yeah,
I
yeah,
got it.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. It's clear
This is
now.
a family. This is a gay, lesbian. They're married, wife to wife. But their first child, who a friend was the donor, and she last year, you can see her in her little, there she is, and she's got long hair and a little van. She said, mommy, I am not a girl. I mean, I'm not a boy. I want to be a girl. I am a girl. And they're embracing this. And I just, to be
That's
10 years
lovely.
old and to be able to be accepted, it's just wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
Surely, you know, the thing is, by doing that, this whole depression, high suicide rate, etc., is only because society gives them such hell.
Yeah.
You know, I was talking to a transgender 60-year-old in a charity shop. I go to them a lot. And she said, she was just talking. She was really fun to talk to, but she said, I love Aberystwyth. She said, I'm just here on holiday and I can just walk around. She said, when I'm at home, every day when I leave to go to work, she said, I have a group of school kids who come after me, calling me pervert, pedophile.
Oh, where does she live?
In like Birmingham, Midlands, England.
Okay.
Oh, in England. Okay. Yeah.
What?
This is this family is originally from Florida, moved out here, and I've repped her for many, many years. But they relocated because they were able to buy a house in Portland. And that's a really healthy place too except there's a lot more white supremacists there, but it's a very highly gay, trans.
Yeah, I heard that from a friend. Yeah.
Yeah, very, very, very open and as it is down here.
Yeah, and in Northamptonshire in Massachusetts as well.
That's, so there's hope.
Yeah, and there are some places in New York as well. I think you have more of those islands in America,
Yeah.
even though you still have the
Yeah.
bias and bigotry.
Especially in New York,
We
there
have
was a
mass
lot of-
shootings, but we accept gay, lesbian, trans, the whole thing better.
But not
We're
altogether.
always having
Because,
rallies. I mean, here, this
Ricky
Valley
Gervais, David Chappelle, you know the story of what happened with David Chappelle, the comedian. He goes around, he likes to make a lot of transphobic jokes, and he was on he gave a comedy show. This is in the United States, and he is the United States, they're American, and he was making a transphobic joke, and the transphobic groups of people, I mean, the transgender groups all complained. They made huge complaints about it. But then he came out and said, look, folks, the person I was actually making fun of, the trans woman I was making fun of, was actually sitting in the front row of the audience, and she was laughing the hardest. And then it came out the next day in the newspaper that she had killed herself.
Oh,
my God.
And she left a note saying, dear David, yes, I was laughing the hardest, only because if I wasn't laughing, I would have been crying. And I'm tired.
Only what? Rock?
She was a comedian, an actress, and an activist, a
A
role model for the whole transgender community. And it's a huge loss in the age of 40s.
Nothing to make fun of. It's disgusting.
So I mean, that's America. I'm just saying, America, just be careful. Not you.
I know.
I know.
Yeah. White nationalists really,
This has nothing.
no, I guess yes, many people here, especially in New York, doesn't accept it at all. And so there were a lot of,
Anything. That's
yeah,
only
yeah,
one
yeah.
of the
There was a
things
lot of attacks against those people here. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm
Go
just
back,
saying.
Leah.
It used to be better here. It used to be better. I don't,
Maybe,
it's
yeah.
extraordinary, actually. Even Germaine Greer, the great feminist, so-called, I never thought her female unit book was actually very pro-woman, but anyway, she's anti-trans, and several comedians are anti-trans, like Ricky Gervais or however you say his name. He does The
Yeah.
Office. Ever hear of it? The Office?
I don't know.
Yeah, and he also hosts the Golden Globe sometimes. I can't
Yeah,
stand
okay.
him.
Well, he's transphobic and makes transphobic jokes.
No wonder.
I'm not surprised, yeah. Verbal and physical abuse towards transgender folks, including murder, is shockingly high, while discrimination and bullying is commonplace. Breakdown of family and personal relationships is almost the norm. Coming out and transitioning is not something people do for fun or on a whim. For most, coming to terms with being transgender and deciding to transition is hugely difficult and frightening. There are a raft of challenges beyond the medical, physical, masses to learn, but little time in which to do it, social acceptance issues, immense changes to every relationship, including breakdown to be faced, a sea of excessive bureaucracy and officialdom to be waded through, and the challenge of maintaining employment and education, which is not always possible. A fair number, it's also especially hard, as you can imagine, for African American transgender.
Oh, I can only
Yes.
imagine.
Yes.
They often can only get employment as sex workers. And so this gets confused. The only reason they're doing it is the only job they can get. But they also are more likely to get murdered. Verbal and physical abuse towards transgender folks, including, just said that, sorry. While transitioning treatments continue to develop and improve, success is dependent on a number of factors, not least of which is the availability of funds. It's very expensive for the, and well, actually, it's not that expensive. I've seen it compared to things. It's more like, what is it? It's compared to some of a hip operation. It's like the cost of a hip operation. And a lot of people have that. And it's cheaper than IVF treatment.
Except
Anyway,
in America, where we have, or now you get on Medicare,
Yeah,
you're
right. That's the only way
screwed.
that
It's
forget
just
it.
horrible.
yeah. I
Nothing
don't
is cheap here.
understand. I mean, I'm American, but I haven't been there a long time, and I don't
Yeah.
understand the medical system.
It's crazy. It's just crazy.
Yeah, and they're trying to be more and more like you over here. Ah!
Just to divert for a second, Frank has been on blood thinners, and I think you know Glenn anyway.
Yeah.
That a couple of years ago he had a horrific accident and shattered his left leg from the knee down, and he's always been a clotter. And
What does he
Yes, he
take,
was-
Shirley? Which medicine?
well, I just want to tell you, his clotting was so extreme that he was put on Xarelto.
I don't know that.
We got the prescription at the hospital before he was, after he was released. $500 for 1 month.
Terrible.
$500. So the lucky thing
crazy.
for us, I mean, this is just a nuts.
Oh, that's
he's-
horrible.
He's a hematologist, Dr. Curdy, and Dr. Curdy just says, when don't buy it anymore. I get so many Xarelto samples dropped
Oh,
off,
Wonderful.
and he said, you come by the office and we'll give you all the samples we have. And he's been able to do that, except during the pandemic, the reps stopped coming. Now they're starting to come back. But,
Right.
I mean, $500 a month for a very, very You know, we live mainly on
Doesn't
social
make any
security,
sense.
and, you know, um,
It doesn't make any
it's
sense.
outrageous. It's absolutely outrageous. We were just stunned. $500 for
I can't
30
imagine. I complained about Eloquist, which is only 120 a month.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I still think
I
that's
don't
It is
understand how, I don't
crazy.
understand it.
But it's considered the best. He is a clotter.
Oh, that's
And
not better.
you know, we don't want him ending up, I don't want him ending up with a heart attack
No,
or
of
a
Oh,
course.
stroke.
But I
But, you
mean,
know,
but you're,
if it
you're, what are you
we're
gonna
in
do?
Medicare, they won't pay for it.
Go ahead, Leah. What's your question?
Medicare will not pay for it.
No, they don't pay for
Why?
anything. Forget it.
No,
Why?
because it's too, you can get cheaper. Even though this is the best
I know
for
exactly what
someone
she's
with
saying is right.
extreme clotting issues.
You
It's
guys
just-
are getting shafted, you know.
Oh, it's
No
awful.
kidding.
It's
When
just,
you try to fight the system, you can't fight the system.
no.
Okay,
You
Leah,
know,
do you
I
have-
mean, we have our problems here too, believe me, but I have to say that I have some certain things I'm grateful for when it comes. I'm happy to pay my taxes, to pay extra, to have that kind of insurance for
this
myself
has
and
nothing to
others.
do with taxes. We pay our
Well, I know,
taxes
but
and we still
that's what
get
people
hit.
always say, don't they?
Not for
Well,
us.
we
Yeah.
don't-
And especially when you see that the politicians have the platinum health insurance,
Right, exactly.
they're never stuck with this stuff, but they don't care about the rest of us.
Very true.
It's really a shame in this country what
Yeah.
we have to go
I
through.
don't think the individual in your country, in America, actually matters so much.
No,
I
they
think
don't care. Just numbers.
I think the
Money.
pandemic showed that. I think the way they've treated people, it's the economy, and that's all.
Terrible.
It's embarrassing for me to tell you this in a way, but both of my brother's daughters, who are now grown, Shannon 35, had a baby 2 months ago, with married, and um, and then Cody was out of work for a year, but she just moved to Nashville last weekend. She's been a pharmaceutical rep ever since she graduated from college. These two girls have made more money in a month than I made in a year as a teacher.
Hmm.
And it's even more extreme. And all they do is go in and look pretty and say, here's this or that. And they're making $250,000 to $400,000 a year.
Oh my
Good
God.
God,
Schlepping
selling poison.
prescription. I know. It's crazy.
Like hard to
On the
believe.
one hand, I'm happy for them. On the other, it makes me sick to my stomach.
Yeah, I know. I mean, obviously it's a relation, so you know them, so you're happy for them. But
Oh, I love them. And it's just, they didn't grow up saying we want to be pharmaceutical reps. Cody wanted to be a marine biologist.
What a
yeah,
difference.
it sometimes just happens. These things happen, don't they? But
It's the money. It's the
but
money.
still, that
They're
sucks.
beautiful
That
girls,
sucks.
and the pharmaceutical industry wants really good looking, attractive women. Once you hit 40, you
Come and
probably
suck your
out.
money out. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Leah, do you have something you want to add or are you finished?
Well, no, I'm not quite finished. I
Okay,
don't know
go
what
ahead.
time it is. What's the time?
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Okay, let's not interrupt her. Let's let her talk.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
Up to the
No, it's
end.
okay. It's interesting. Okay, so there's some significant problems getting help for your transgenderism in this country. The NHS is not putting any money in it. Some of the doctors are extremely rude. I have a friend who went to a GP who said it's people like you who are draining the NHS of money.
Oh my
Oh, God.
God.
No, and that was
Oh.
the first time that ever told a doctor that they were trans. It was the first time.
Mm.
They get private hormonal treatment from a country in Indonesia or something. No trans, and they don't have the money to do that. Anyway, no trans person chooses to be trans. It is a phenomenally difficult and for most lonely experience. But families and friends can choose how they respond, and their acceptance, love, and support is crucial to a trans person's happiness and well-being. I tell you what, I've got like a whole bunch of facts, my friends, that I could go on about. But I think, you know, just it's just the rate, I mean, the statistics, I mean, I'm not going to, don't worry, you know. But like here's an article: gender dysphoria may have genetic basis. There seems to be extreme reason to believe that this is the case in an Australian study. There are transgender brains are more like their desired gender from an early age. It just is unbelievable. Although there are people who I know who are trans who don't want to over focus on the biological aspect, because they say, what if you find out that there is this biological aspect to a lot of transgender people, but not everybody has it? You know, and that's bound to happen, isn't it? And then they could be discriminated against. And so, you know, it should never be used that way. I mean, the mental, research into mental health problems has shown it's very complicated. We don't know much about the brain. And you can't just sort of say, here's a depression gene, or here's this. It isn't so simple. It's usually it's a combination of some things occurring in the body, in the, you know, opportunity as well. I mean, if you're locked up in a tower, you're not going to become transgender, are you? I mean, you know what I mean. I mean, it's just, but we as people can do so much through just simply understanding. I think it does help. Like I had a friend of mine who's trans said, you don't need to stick up for us. And I said, you know what? The reason why gay marriages can occur now are because a lot of ordinary people who are not gay started sticking up for gay people. I said, actually, you do need trans allies. You need more ordinary public people.
That's right.
To understand what it's about, what's going on. It's nothing scary. The average thing you want to do is like have a Chinese takeaway and watch a film. And in fact, the libido of most transgender people is extremely low. So it's, you know, it's hardly a big sexy thing. You know, ordinary night at a transgender person's house and with transgender people in person. And it's like, yeah, should we go to Tesco's and do some shopping? Yeah, okay, well, yeah. Do some shopping, put the shopping away, watch TV program. I'm gonna go now. Bye. I mean, you know, it's like people are so kind of ridiculous, really. They want to turn everything in, you know, this prurient, you know, prurient interest. And that's what these questions that I told you about, which are so intrusive. If you've ever, I remember being pregnant and people would come up and pat my pregnant belly. I think, what the hell do you think? I didn't say it, but who the hell do you think you are? Patting my belly. I don't know who you are. And it's strangers can be weird. You know what I'm saying? They can come up and they can ask intrusive questions to somebody that you would never dream of doing. That's because I'm a woman and I'm pregnant and I'm vulnerable and they feel that they can do it. It's the vulnerability aspect, I think. And the transgender person looks vulnerable. So they seem to be prey for open territory for all kinds of haters. And God knows we've got a lot of haters around at the moment. So folks, keep that love going.
I think we have to learn to be accepting. I think that once, if we took, like we did today, we took the time. I still don't know a lot, but I know more than I knew before we started this. Thank you, Leah, for
Yeah.
approaching such a subject that is so controversial. Very hard, and yet you did it in a wonderful way. I think that,
Lynn, wait a second. Can I just interrupt you just for a second?
sure.
Okay, yeah.
I just want to say one thing. Trans people that I know say one of the things that hurts them so much is the idea that there's a trans debate. There is no debate as to whether or not somebody, epileptic people, should be allowed to exist.
Oh, God.
There's no debate. There's nothing to debate. They are.
I agree, and I think that's what we have to accept. It's all
And
about
this-
acceptance.
I think in America, we have a
When
bigger
you're
problem.
transgender, you have to accept other people, and
Yes.
instead of questioning, it really isn't our business.
Yeah.
Look how how many people don't accept blacks.
That's right. And we
Yeah.
have, surely,
Well, you're-
that's a known, everybody, every religion. How many don't accept
It's
Jews?
just
How many don't accept
insane.
Muslims?
It's insane. How many shootings this weekend?
Oh,
What
terrible.
is your,
Oh my
what is the problem? What is,
Oh, we're
Insane.
living in very sick times.
And everybody is really worried. I know
Very,
I
very
am
sick
about what's
times.
going to happen if the George Floyd verdict.
I don't even want to
acquits-
think about, Shirley, don't
Oh.
even mention it because I'm sick over this whole thing.
Well,
So
we got
I
to
just can't-
pray.
It's gonna happen.
I've been praying every day.
So
for-
that's the only way we're gonna
Yeah,
get.
that's
through
the only
this,
way.
prayer.
He has to be found guilty.
oh,
he's
it's so
guilty.
horrible.
We watched
to
him
be
murder
guilty.
him right
To
there.
be frank, concerning this crime for Floyd, he's guilty, and everyone knows that.
And
Listen, but you notice, you have noticed that the authorities or politicians just repeat the same thing. And
Every
they
day.
listen, and there was a big funeral. There was a big
Right before this, I was
every
watching
time. It's the same. I'm sorry, the same shit.
closing
You know what is the
arguments.
problem? The problem is that they allow that. Still, before Floyd died, passed away, or late boy child who was killed in Chicago. The
Yeah.
problem is not
13
with
years
the
old.
The problem is not with the cops shooting these guys. The problem is that there is a stereotype against black people,
Absolutely.
gender people. And this is the point. And to come back to this meeting, and I will say just my opinion. I was born in a country, Muslim. We had the culture that those transgender guys, it's worse. They are not accepted at all. And listen, they can be thrown by stones in every place.
Yeah.
They can be
more-
executed in
it's-
many
it's
countries around the
crazy.
world. They can still be
Yeah. So
killed.
when I came here, I had the same thoughts before I came here. It didn't mean to.
That's what you're
But
surrounded
we
by.
had this in
Yeah.
our subconscious mind. Oh, these guys living should they are shame. It's not the truth. Here, when I came here, I
Very
noticed
different
that
here.
those people, they are politicians, they are politicians, they are actors, they are simple people, and you know what? Just leave them live in peace.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Nurses,
And
doctors,
the big
mechanics,
mistake we
people running
all-
shops.
the big mistake we all commit is that we judge people without knowing them. This is the main truth that we all should know. In every culture, we should respect the other.
Yeah, but it doesn't
We
happen.
don't care if they are wrong or they are no. Many people we are all wrong. No one is perfect. But those kind of people, we should stop judging them.
Yeah.
We should listen to them. We should.
Help.
Many people who are against have horrible behaviors.
Absolutely.
People, and at the same time, they consider themselves, safe. Only transgenders only are wrong. It's wrong.
You have to, that to be said.
Before judging people, just let them talk.
In Native American culture, you might
Yes.
find it interesting. In Native American culture, it was actually before the European settlers came to the North America and said, hey, this is our place now. They and the missionaries came and they started either slaughtering or making people give up one of their genders and only become either, they were 5-gendered. Now they had to be either this or that. They had to dress in the way that they were told to. They had to go to government schools and not learn about their own culture. All this sort of stuff happened. But what is really strange and interesting is that before that happened, and still in a couple of places around the world, they're considered valued, gifted people. They were illustrious people. They were considered gifted because they could see from a male and a female perspective, and they could see more and they knew more. They were the shamans, the healers, the doctors, you might say, the healers, the shamans, the wise people of their clan, of their tribe.
Yeah.
Lester,
So
sister.
it's not a necessary thing. We don't have to be haters. We don't have to be horrible.
No, it just,
Right.
Yeah.
probably the worst thing that ever happened. And I think religion has played so much a part of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when these evangelicals in this country, look what they gave us. And they still won't shut up. They still believe
It's
that
worse
Trump was sent from God.
They're so hypocritical, aren't they?
Well, did I ever tell you about when my mom decided to move out here? And I wanted her to make the decision, but she was terminally ill with lung cancer. And she was alone back in Tulsa in terms of my brother and I were both in, way up far away. And these two Baptist women heard about it through the grapevine and started helping my mom. And for the longest time, I was just like, oh my God. I would fly back every third week and I would take them presents and take them out to dinner and just thank them. This was such a gift for my mother. And one night I was back and I took them out to dinner with my mom. And one of the two women asked me what was the most amazing thing that ever happened to me. And I thought for a second, I said, gosh, I guess it was when His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, blessed me and put a kata around my neck. And their faces went from this to this. Didn't say another word. A few months later, my mom decided it was time for her to come out here. And that I wanted her so badly to be here.
Oh my goodness.
Because I didn't want her alone. And but I knew I couldn't say you have to move.
No, you can't do that.
She called me and she said, I'm ready. I'm going to move. I'm going to sell the house and move, a little old house in Tulsa. And one night, just before I was very close to going back to finish packing her up, getting things on the moving van, and then flying her out of Oklahoma, those two women came to my mom's house at night. These are Baptist evangelicals.
I remember the story. Yeah.
You remember this? And they sat down and they said, Judy, we need to have a talk with you. God has spoken to us. And God came to each of us and told us that if you move to California, you are going to burn in hell.
Oh,
For Christ's sake.
Shirley is going to burn in hell because she loves the Dalai Lama. And so you will burn in hell with her because you're with her. And
That's insane.
It was about 8 o'clock my time, so about 10 o'clock Tulsa time.
blinded people.
My mom, like a little girl, I answered the phone and she was sobbing. Are we gonna burn in hell? And I went, what?
Oh no.
What, Mom, what are you talking about? Well, Pam and Linda were just here and they told me that God came to each one of them and told them if Judy moved to California, she was going to burn in hell because of Shirley. And I said, oh my God, Mom, what did you do? And she said, well, the first thing I did was open the front door, tell them to get out.
Good for her.
And don't ever darken my doorstep again.
Good for her.
Good
That's
for her.
She was wonderful.
I mean, they were taking
But it-
advantage
it
of a
was-
very
it
ill
was
woman.
horrible.
How horrible. How evil.
Horrible. These are
evil.
Christians? These are Christians?
No, it's evil.
Please.
Evil. I said, Mama, what did you do? And she told me, she said, I went to the front door and opened it. I said, you leave and don't ever come back.
That's it.
Well, your
And I
mom is
said,
pretty
good
cool.
for you. But she was crying like a little girl.
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry that happened to her.
What a
And I think those
horrible-
people are they're unbelievably horrible, actually.
This was a terminally ill woman who
Yeah.
had been taken care of by these two strange Baptist women until I went back one time and innocently said, maybe the most amazing thing was when His Holiness the Dalai Lama came right up to me, blessed me, put a kata around my neck, and said, Tashi Delek, Tashi Delek.
Oh, God.
And that, I'll never forget that.
Terrible.
And that made them, they went from, they're born again Christians. Can you imagine Jesus telling my mother that?
Oh,
Jesus
Oh
like
my
the
God.
prostitutes, hey.
Jesus, they're just so sick. They're a sick bunch of people.
They
They
don't know
actually,
the
I
value
don't
of
think they
Jesus.
know what
They don't know
Jesus had to
Jesus.
say, actually, if
They
they ever
don't know
read
him.
any of the
They
words.
forget that Jesus would never ever say that.
Never.
They know.
Never, never, never.
And
He was, he bring the children to me, you
Jesus
know?
was a liberal.
He was a pretty
Yeah,
gentle
yeah.
guy, actually. I mean,
He
what
was
the
pretty
hell?
cool. Yeah.
Yes, Joe?
friends, I need to leave, so I want to say bye.
Okay.
Oh, it's
Okay,
good to
thanks for
see you,
coming.
Masika.
Okay, bye-bye.
And
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Nasisa, for coming.
thank you
I
for
love talking
sharing
with you.
so much. Thank you. And
Thank
that
you for
was
coming
very
after 2 weeks.
tender.
Okay,
Thank
easy.
you.
Can I ask,
Okay.
Leah,
Last day.
can I ask Leah a question?
Yeah.
Okay. Before we close off, Tofi and I have someplace to go where we didn't expect it to last
Okay.
this long. I just want to remind you all that the Sisterhood 39, here she
Yeah.
goes,
Yeah.
Broken Pieces.
Oh,
And that's not due till like May 15th or whatever, anytime in May. We don't have to rush it. Just think, I'm going to be writing about the police because to me, that's the most broken part of society. My own personal life means nothing compared to that.
no.
Everybody can write on their own slant. We just want to make sure that we get it in, and that's it.
When you see a 13-year-old kid, I mean, we've seen so much of this, but just last weekend, running and the cop says, drop the gun. He didn't have a gun, puts
the
his
cop
hands
like
up
him.
and they
Imagine.
murder him.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
They just shot him
No.
dead,
Well, how
Shirley.
don't you know the
Killed
difference
them.
between? How don't you know the difference between a taser and a regular gun?
Oh, yeah, really. 26
But-
years on
But
the
this
force. Give
13-year-old,
me a break.
there's
I
a
guess.
picture of him. He had his
It's-
hands up in the air.
It's not the white cops or the people shot. It's the system.
It's a
In
terrible.
this free country,
Terrible.
I'm just a permanent resident. I'm not a nationalist. I mean, naturalized yet. But the system encourages racism.
I think this has gone back.
This happened
I mean,
because
look how the Irish were treated by
are
the.
still
by-
racist.
It's
By the
gotten
Boston.
worse, so, you know, it's gotten
This is
worse.
horrible. It was horrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
All right, I
Okay,
want to ask
everyone,
something
thanks for
light,
coming.
Leah, just real quick.
Go
Yeah.
ahead,
Do you
fast,
think
Shirley, I
is
gotta get
Harry-
going.
Is Harry going to make up with William?
Personally, I think Harry's better off without William. That's just my opinion.
Well, I do too, but do you think that they'll be okay?
They're gonna be
I
fine.
I love Harry. I have always
I have
loved
this
Harry.
thing about I love Harry.
From when he was a kid, and all the things he did, growing up, going into the military, he just such a really cool guy. He was crazy for a while, he got out, came out here
Oh,
with
we
Barbie, but he was a kid. But
Okay,
I love him.
okay, we're gonna say goodbye now. That's
All
it.
right,
And so
mwah.
was Diana.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
Hey, actually,
Love you all.
after the funeral, I saw the two of them talking on photos.
Oh,
I'm
good.
sure
Yeah.
there is a
I
big
hope so.
Yeah.
Well, they said
long
Kate was trying to bring them back together.
Let's
So
see.
there's
Yeah.
peace.
They'll be fine. They're brothers.
Okay,
Okay.
see you all
All right,
soon.
bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
bye.
Leah.